Market regulator SEBI has announced new rules surrounding mutual fund nominations. So, from the 1st of August this year, any new investors in mutual funds will have the choice of either providing their nomination or they can simply opt out by signing a declaration form. So, what happens if you are an existing investor? For investments made prior to the 1st of August, SEBI has asked mutual fund houses to set the 31st of March 2023 as a deadline for either adding a nominee to your investments or, like the new investors, you too will have the choice to opt out. But remember that not providing nomination details does not equate to opting out. You will have to actively fill the declaration form saying that you don't want to nominate anyone. And here's the catch, a big one at that too. Failing to comply with this provision will result in the freezing of folios for sell transactions, which means that your investments can continue as is, but you will not be able to sell them or redeem them till such time that you are in compliance with these rules. Now, many experts I have spoken to suggest that adding a nominee is still a better proposition, even though now nomination is optional, because nomination is a crucial step in the transfer of mutual fund units to the appropriate claimant after the death of the unit holder without any sort of complications. So if the nominee information is not accessible in the case of a single unit holder, the heir or the beneficiary will need to go through a long drawn-out court process in order to actually get the units transferred. And that's the last thing you want to do at a time of grief. However, in the case of jointly held units, these will be transferred to the remaining holder on the demise of, say, the other holder. But do remember that a nominee is only a custodian of assets who must see that the money is transferred to the rightful successor. A nominee themselves cannot take the place of the legal heir. Therefore, the better alternative is to choose a nominee who will ultimately succeed to your estate as a legal heir or who is a beneficiary of the will under the relevant succession legislation. So how do you add a nominee or make changes? Well, basically, you can add up to 3 nominees either through the mutual fund house or the registrar and transfer agents, also called RTAs. Importantly, you must clearly state the percentage of the allocation or share that belongs to each of these nominees next to their name. This allocation is a percentage share that you wish to leave to that nominee and must always be expressed in whole numbers only without any decimals. Now, if this allocation is not clearly stated, then the AMC will just go ahead and divide the claim evenly or equally amongst all the nominees that you have listed. And you as the unit holder must also affix your signature, your hand signature to the nomination form. And if the units are jointly owned, then all joint holders must sign the nomination form. And please be aware that any new nomination request will take precedence over the previous one. So who can you nominate? Who can be a nominee? Well, any family and friend, even NRI, subject to exchange control rules. If the nominee is a minor, then the details of the guardian will need to be provided. You can even nominate charitable and religious trusts, central and state governments, and local authorities. However, a guardian who is investing on behalf of a minor cannot also be a nominee. Also, the nominee may not be a society, company, corporate body, partnership firm, Hindu undivided family, or trust other than the religious or charitable trust that I mentioned earlier. And to avoid complications, it's important to choose your nominee with care. So in most circumstances, the nominee is merely a trustee or custodian and not the actual owner of that asset. So you should be sure that the nominee understands their duty to distribute the assets to the legitimate heirs. It has happened, and more often than we'd like, that legal heirs have frequently have had to approach courts to order the nominee to transfer the assets to them. Of course, courts have frequently concluded that the nominee serves as both a trustee and a custodian and that the assets should pass to the lawful heir. But best to be sure of who you are nominating. Also, to prevent any misunderstanding, the nominee's information, including name, residence, date of birth, and relationship to the deceased, must be provided precisely. These details should also be updated as and when relevant. So updating the information and even keeping a record of it are pretty crucial. And so nomination is an essential process, more so than we realize, and it's something that is recommended to all investors to follow. I hope you found this helpful.